Hey guys, I just want to let you know that I am now a certified spiritual life coach. If you resonate with the topics and lessons that my guests and I discuss on my podcast, and you feel that you could use some empowerment and direction in your journey of becoming who you truly are, consider booking a free discovery call with me on my website at kindlemccullough.com. And now on to the episode. Hey guys, I'm excited today. I have with me Amanda Baker. She's a mental health therapist and yoga instructor, and she combines those to use yoga in a therapeutic way. She contacted me through Instagram and looked at her stuff, and she has her own podcast and community, and it looked really amazing. And so, yeah, I'm excited to have her on. So thanks for coming.
Yeah. Kind of wild. Like I was saying before we even started recording, just finding you randomly on Instagram and popping up as someone I might know. And then, well, mostly from your podcast, that's what popped up, and giving it a listen and it resonating with me, a lot of the people that you've had on. So I've been wanting to kind of spread more of my message, and yeah, just having the courage to reach out and things aligning. So I'm really glad to be here. As you already mentioned, I am a mental health therapist, yoga instructor, intuitive being, I like to say, and ultimately a human, just like everybody else, fostering my gifts and letting that spread through the work that I do one-on-one and also in groups and community.
Yeah. I was just telling you before the podcast that my old roommate was like, you'd be good at doing, therapy with yoga. And I was like, what is that? And I was like, wait a minute. There's someone who does that. He wants to be on the podcast. So I was like, that's a sign. So,
Yes,
do you want to kind of get more into what you do and how that helps people?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, ultimately what I do, supporting people holistically, spiritually, but also we could take like the whole medical model of mental health. I started that way. So even to get here, to share a little bit about my background and history of getting here, I always wanted to help people in the form of counseling. So I went to school for psychology, then social work to become a mental health therapist. So I started working one-on-one, diagnosing people. I don't even really truly believe in disorders and diagnosing anymore. But yoga was something that I did for my own personal, you could say at the time, exercise. So throughout undergrad and grad school, I would attend yoga classes just for my own support and physical health. And then once I became a therapist, was still practicing yoga and kind of decided on a whim to do a 200-hour yoga teacher training. Really to kind of foster or deepen my own practice. I didn't plan to teach. And then I ended up really enjoying it. And through yoga, which is more than just the physical asana practice, it's also a whole philosophy. And so really about like awareness, mindfulness, fostering a better relationship with yourself. They had us write every day. And so through writing came out for me like this creativity, remembering that I used to write poetry as a kid. And it really opened me up beyond mental health in terms of being a therapist. And so I started teaching regular yoga classes, more of like vinyasa flow. And people started coming up to me asking me, hey, do you do this one-on-one? And I was like, no, I don't teach yoga one-on-one, but I do therapy one-on-one. And a lot of the people who came to my classes already had a therapist. And they shared like, I just feel like I'm stuck, kind of repeating things. And they wanted more of the body-based work. They found a lot of value in the classes kind of supporting their stress levels, their emotions, because I used a lot of therapeutic language in the class. So from there, kind of adapted into or stumbled into creating what I call therapeutic yoga. And so I started teaching a therapeutic yoga class and then offering it one-on-one with my current therapy clients if they wanted some of the body-based components, and then also with people who really wanted that integrative approach. And it's very different with each person. So when I work with a person, sometimes we'll do like a full yoga practice. Sometimes we'll do a combo of talk and body work. But really what's at the core of it is your presence. So a practice of being present in the moment, gaining more awareness of your breath, where you're feeling tension and sensation and emotion in your body, and then how that area of yourself, I believe, is sending you a signal, a message that's really worth listening to. And so that's why people can go and take a yoga class or even do somatic work. But if there's not that processing component where you're getting curious about what your body or emotion or sensation is telling you and kind of why it's there, where it originated from, and then how to move through it, hopefully safely with myself as a person that you're working with, that can really foster that like evolution and change of breaking habits and patterns to evolve more into your authentic self. And I think that's really the healing, is returning to your authentic self is what reduces what we consider the like mental health symptoms.
Yeah, that's great. That's amazing. We have like so many similarities. It's funny because
Yeah,
I
I know
was
I just
in.
said a lot there too.
Oh no, it was great. It was great. But I was in grad school for psychology. Well, that was the second time. The first time I was in grad school and I started to become interested in the Eastern way of thinking because while I love grad school and the intellectual stimulation, I was seeing the limits of the Western way of thinking and how it's all about specialization and it's so mind focused. And the Eastern way was all about being holistic and the connection between different things. But then again, I was in grad school later on for psychology. I started a spiritual journey around that time too. And I started doing yoga every day with meditation, and it was really helpful. For a while there, I was going to like group yoga classes, and I just love how, because yoga in the East is the Eightfold Path. There's lots of different elements to it. When we think of yoga in the West, we think of just the physical stretches, but yoga is all the different elements. So I love how you've, that, and then you also like have incorporated that. So I love how you've used the Western model of psychology to actually incorporate more of what yoga truly is from the East, and using both the mind and the body connection, and helping people really get that somatic, connection, and really help them heal and grow. Because I think psychology is beginning to understand this and use a lot of different modalities, whether it's EMDR or psychedelics, or like IFS, parts work, all stuff to do with the body, and using that because just talking about things, if it's not embodied, it's not going to offer true healing, and we're just going to go in a circle. So I love, using yoga as a tool to do that.
Exactly. I think you're spot on. I was originally trained in cognitive behavioral therapy, and where I worked at first, we were pretty much forced or required to use that model and document through assessments. And, there's value in identifying your beliefs and your behaviors, but I would add, we had something called like the CBT triangle, which was your thoughts, your actions, your emotions, and I made it a square and added in sensations even before being a yoga practitioner, because it's like that's where it starts. You get that sensation first, and if you're just trying to change your thought or behavior without really getting deeper into like the energy or within the body of where a lot of this lives, you're going to keep kind of repeating or coming up to like that like guardrail where you're really not getting through.
Yeah, I actually had someone on a couple episodes ago talking about heart math, and it's just a scientific study of the heart, and realizing that the heart sends so much more signals to the brain, and it starts with the body, and then the brain interprets it. So in the Western, we think of the brain and then the body, or if we even think about it all, but it's actually the other way around. So
Yes.
I love that reframe.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So how does your practice work?
Yeah, good question. So I work under, and I'm like revamping sort of things. So I have like some different names, so to speak. So I have this brand that came about called You Amaze Me. That came more about from the poetry that I write, and I started signing off like I would share poetry, and I started signing off the like caption just saying "you amaze me" like 5 years ago, and then every caption had that, and then people started saying that to me. I would say it to them, and that kind of stuck. So that goes along with this community that I've created. So I have like an online course and community where people can access my therapeutic yoga pre-recorded videos, meditations. I do EFT tapping, so emotional freedom technique tapping. I use tarot cards and oracle cards. So there's all these different ways that I kind of integrate in, or can say like prompt kind of thought-provoking or body-provoking modalities. And that's all in one place online. A part of that course, though, is that you also get to be a part of a community. So we meet, if you're local, we meet in person. I run yoga classes or meetings. We just did a recent one using IFS and like parts work during the time together, like 2 hours together. And it's nice to have that group component where people are sharing, kind of talking about their experiences. And a lot of them just happen to work with me on one-on-one. That's not required. But what I've found through this course and community, which is under You Amaze Me, but the course and community is actually called Alchemize. So it's really about kind of turning your dark into light, or valuing your dark and your light. But what I found, as I was saying, is, I have these individual clients who ended up joining in this community with me, and then they're like starting to become friends, and now they're hanging out like outside of the group, and just being like sharing these similarities has really been fascinating as a part of like this work that I'm doing. That's kind of separate from just me being a therapist, which is why I also just say I'm like a human just sharing these gifts. And that's what I want for most people, is to really feel more attuned to like their natural gifts. So that's the course community piece. And then my therapy practice I work under is called Firefly Counseling Collective. And so that's myself and 3 other therapists, but we all work independently. I have my own space in Baltimore. And so people can find me online there and then fill out a form that goes to me, where if they want to work with me one-on-one, then they can start. We can set up an initial intake, and I gather their history and information, what they're looking for. And like I said, everything's very individualized. So for some, we do more talk therapy, maybe with some like IFS, CBT, acceptance and commitment therapy models, or trauma-informed models, or maybe we do more of the somatic yoga-based work, or combining the two.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I've made friends with some therapists here in town, and we kind of have a group and community, and we're doing different combinations of starting group classes and stuff like that. And I think I talked to a lot of spiritual people, and I think everybody has the same idea of creating more community and more like healing practitioners working as a group together, and not being in a spirit of competition, but in collaboration. And hey, if this person needs this modality, send them over here. If they need this, send them over here. And it's another element, right, that the Western model is missing. Is it's so individualized, but we really heal and grow in community, and so we need that. So that's awesome that you have that element. And I also love too that you have your practice as a therapist, but you can also kind of step out. And I just think that I guess things are changing, so I don't want to get too stuck. But therapy is traditionally thought of as like the therapist has to be very like the toned down, and like they're not really allowed to exhibit their personality, and so in these other containers, we're stepping into more of like being ourselves. And I think that doing that is a mirror to people, to help them get into themselves and learn how to be authentic and be show up and be in their power. And that can be so helpful as well.
Right. And you like hit it spot on. Just even again, like our own similarities and synchronicities here of the words you're using. Like I tell my clients and people, or I'm like, I am your mirror, but in order for me to be your mirror, then I need to also like let any mask down, and I started as a therapist, being pretty rigid of like, these are the ethics and these are the boundaries, no dual relationships. And I know that I'm blurring some of those lines, and it's a risk though that I'm willing to take. I've said, I'm like, if they take my license away, like I'm still who I am. I still have these skill sets that I can still help people. That would be very unfortunate. And I don't think that's going to happen. While also I am aware of like the blurred kind of boundaries that are there, because typically, like you say, in our Western culture, therapists are like this professional. I mean, I even say like we're required to be like a robot. And so, and like even at the beginning of like, you have to dress a certain way and you can't share any personal information. Your client shouldn't know if you're married or have kids, or what you like to do for fun, or where you're going on vacation. Like very, very strict, rigid boundaries that we learned about in grad school. And then coming out of that and kind of recognizing that people are lonely, like like the individual clients that I see and how lonely they feel, how disconnected they are. And then even myself, being in a session with someone where I'm like, I'm not feeling as attuned and connected to you if I can't maybe share something that to me is clinically appropriate to maybe disclose.
Right.
And so those bigger things that I think once I started opening up to people, the amount of like courage they started to have in their growth and their disclosure is just beyond anything that I can even describe here in really seeing that difference. It's powerful.
Right. Yeah, I grew up being a big reader, and then in undergrad I was an English major, and so I've always understood the power of story and how important that is. And I think that as people, our stories are also important, and they can inspire, and they can help us empathize with people, and help them empathize with us, and also be like, oh, someone was here, or like they did it, I can do it. And it can be such a powerful tool of transformation. So it's something that, in the right way, used in a responsible way, is very helpful.
Yes. Yes. And I believe that the people that end up showing up to work with me, or they stay with me, are very much meant to. And there's just so many things that come up that I had example of someone sharing kind of like their more spiritual gifts, or believing they're psychic, and fearing that if they told me that I was going to diagnose them as schizophrenic or something. And I'm like, well, no, you're in the absolute best place, where I am fully here to help you with your psychic powers.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
cool.
Have you heard of the Telepathy Tapes podcast?
I have. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I think and talking about like blurring the lines, and like, I think that, the U.S. is changing. Like we're
changing.
We're having a revolution. And so I think that we're just seeing the benefits, and we're also starting to make some like scientific connections to help those who are more in this materialist mindset see how they can be connected, and it's real, and how you can become more open to it. And, it's just another deeper layer. We are energetic beings of healing, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And I'm all for it, of just like disrupting the system and being a part of this evolution. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, what else do you want to share?
Would you like to try a little bit? Are you open
Oh yeah.
to?
Cool. Yeah.
Cool.
A little demonstration.
Why not? Right. Yeah. I'll give you a little taste of, kind of what I do with most people early on, or in pretty much like all of my classes. So yeah, and then the people listening can try this out and follow along too. So this is a part of therapeutic yoga, and it's essentially coming into kind of that connectivity with yourself and your own presence. So you can go ahead and just start to like tune into your body. Wherever you are, if you are in a comfortable seated position, if you want to stretch a little bit, roll your shoulders back. Just notice how you're holding yourself in your posture. It's pretty powerful even just to lift up from your spine and open up through your chest, rolling the shoulders back into their sockets, feeling the space between like your chin and your chest. Relaxing the muscles in the face, down into your jaw, and coming into your breath. You're welcome to close your eyes. So taking some deeper inhales and exhales, just noting wherever you are right now and letting this moment be exactly as it is. I like to say that this is the most powerful and worthy moment that you've ever been in. This is the most powerful and worthy moment that you have ever been in. And then you're welcome to take one hand to your heart and one to your lower belly if you'd like. And if you want to set an intention, in yoga, it's called a sankalpa. It's your heart's deepest resolve or your heart's deepest longing. And so whatever shows up for you, you may begin to breathe into this intention as if it already exists, creating the full sensory experience in your body as you breathe all the way up to the top of your head. And then exhale, let it out to share it. Take that again. Breathe in the openness of your heart, all the way to the brain, and then exhale, let it go. And then slowly releasing the hands and the arms, bring them out by your sides. You can reach them up and overhead. Maybe you start to gaze up, looking up. As you bring your hands together, starting to draw them down, go slow. So go slower than your natural pace. We tend to fall into our own autopilot pacing. And so with intention, go slow. You feel the motion, the movement through the air as your hands come down right into the center of your chest. And this is called palming. So I made it up, and it's called palming. You're going to press your hands together, lifting the elbows parallel, and then notice which muscles naturally tense. I believe that that's your automatic stress response. So the muscles that you tense when you're in stress are the ones that are going to tense now unless you're purposeful. So release those muscles and now call on other muscles of the body to support this energetic press. So maybe now you're squeezing your legs, though you're being the strength in your hands, in the palms. So changing kind of the stress response so the underworked muscles get a work for you and the overworked muscles can soften. And then release that. Now take it again. And then again, using other muscles to support the press. And then releasing. One more time. And with more practice, you start to change the pathway, changing through the brain and the body. And then release. And now take your hands, start to move them, make a swish sound. So creating a little friction, creating a little electricity. And then pull your hands apart about a centimeter, inch or so, maybe more like an inch. And just notice what you feel right in between your hands. It's generally a slight tingle sensation or vibration. That's your essence, your energy, because you are alive and your emotions are energy in motion. And so you get to choose right now kind of the tone of that which you want to feel. So maybe this is calm, maybe this is empowerment, tranquility, confidence, abundance, love, and then place your hands anywhere on the body that might need that medicine. So your own presence is your medicine. So anywhere that tends to feel the tightness and just sending that to those areas of your body. And soften and release. And go ahead, take a twist, just gentle twist to the right. And then a gentle twist to the left, continuing to breathe. And coming back through center. So the twist can counteract detachment, dissociation, depression, fatigue. So anytime we move, so even opening the chest kind of in cat-cow, we can counteract the exhaustion, the depression. And then anytime we're more in stillness, so even if you come back to your stillness, you can support and counteract the arousal, the panic, the anxiety, the intensity. And even forward folding. So if you have this space and you wanted to fold all the way forward, the hanging upside down is like a reset for your body, for your nervous system. And I say that our emotions last about 90 seconds on average when we let them be exactly as they are. So we tend to overthink our emotions, analyze our feelings, have judgments towards them, and that perpetuates them to last longer versus if we let them be through our gentle awareness, they're temporary, they will move. So you can come back up to seated. And just like after a run, when you stop running, your body knows how to come back into its baseline. So if you're ever feeling overwhelmed, distracted, indecisive, hang upside down for 40 or 90 seconds. And then when you rise back up slowly, your body will reset. So yeah, that's a little taste.
That was great. I loved it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, and I love the part where you were talking about like the way you tense up when you're under stress and retraining your body to change those patterns. And to me, or anyways, what I did was I felt like I started to utilize more of my body, become more holistic throughout the body, and using more of that to support me. So I think that we, with like IFS or, with like the body keeps the score, we kind of separate in trauma. And so it's retraining our body to become more holistic. And we also know with the brain, forming new neural pathways, that's more connection. And so I can see all of that in your little practice.
Yeah, really, really cool. And I think that's, if you ever attend, or for those who attend my like regular classes, there's so much more prompting that I'm doing than maybe a typical yoga instructor, and less about the alignment of like, put your knee here and your foot here. The whole class, I say that you don't do the yoga does you. And if we're so focused on that precision of alignment, to me, it's letting your body land in the pose as it is meant to in that moment, however it does. And we're so worried about like, if it's not this like flexibility or this range, I'm doing it wrong. And so it's so interesting because, I did my 200-hour training. I did a 300-hour yoga psychology training. And, we were tested and graded on, how we taught. And, I've come out of it not fully following what I was trained in and really creating my own variation and version because I have such trust in our body, where I'm like, our body isn't going to go into a position that's going to injure it if you trust it and if you allow it to just land in the side stretch or in warrior one in the way that you're showing up in warrior one for you in that moment. Yeah. So a lot more of that kind of prompting to just be aware of your body than necessarily where you're placing your parts of your body.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, actually, I was thinking about this earlier when you were talking about how depending on the person, you do more somatics, more talk, or whatever. So, it reminded me of this Carl Jung quote about like study all the theories, all the different things, but when you meet a person, meet them as they are, where they're at. And I love that like awareness that, everybody's unique, everyone's different, and they need different things, and it's going to look different. So can we be flexible enough to have a structure in mind and that use that to inform us, but adjust that to the individual's needs? So whether that's talk therapy or yoga, it's all very helpful. And, the body is very intelligent, so it tells us what we need. I've actually been doing a thing recently where I just go outside and I just like move my body in the mornings just to kind of wake up, and I call it intuitive yoga. And so it's just like, I just move it in different ways to see what the body needs, what it's feeling like. And it feels really great.
That's amazing. Yeah, exactly. Right. Intuitive yoga is like, yoga is anything, the way that I view poetry like that as well. And maybe that's why I'm so drawn to these things, because it's not rigid. There's not as many rules. Because yoga can be laying on your mat, or it can be going outside and just moving your body and whatever it needs in those moments that you're there each morning. So having is wonderful.
And I love the part where you're saying, move slower than what you would automatically do. So it's like getting into more consciousness. And it really reminds me of like yin yoga, and that's very like slow. And I think yin yoga is like, it's honoring where you're at, but then can you push into more? Can you
Mm.
stretch more and more? And if we go slowly, then we're still honoring and listening to our body. We're not just forcing something that may hurt us or injure us or whatever, but we're doing it in a slow way. So over time, we can be like, oh, wow, I can go deeper and deeper into the stretch, and I
Yes.
can handle more and more. And that applies to the principle applies to so many different ways in life.
I agree. Like the yin yoga or that kind of perspective of it, of what you just spoke to about like going right to your edges in a way, and then letting yourself kind of go just a little bit beyond, the more that you stay in that posture. And that's the idea of kind of why holding it is therapeutic or is powerful. And my class does tend to kind of have the yin and the yang. And so we do like get into the warriors, we get into some flow, we're kind of amping up the heart rate. And to me, that is going through the stress response. So if you're getting into a more maybe challenging posture, your heart rate's going, maybe you notice yourself wanting it to be over. And it's like, can you breathe? Can you stay and enhance your tolerance, I might say, for discomfort, but really it's about getting more comfortable being uncomfortable. And so you're activating your stress response where it might want to go into that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn state. And instead you stay and then know that you're going to come out of it. So it's like getting to that peak, and then the habituation is like slowly starting to come out when you end the posture, and then you come back to like letting yourself know you're safe again. Because so many people are stuck in chronic stress that they're not completing that cycle. So the yin and the yang is necessary, like the harmony of both.
Yeah, that's so funny. You just said complete the cycle, because I just heard someone on Instagram the other day, and then I messaged him and he like explained more about completing the cycle. Because so often we see, and I'm thankful that we're starting to become aware of the nervous system and like regulating and calming that. But it's also important to push it and know, like, does the body need softness right now? Does it need stillness, or does it need to activate and move and work this energy through? And he was saying that in mindfulness we're taught to like breathe through things, but he's saying that sometimes what we need is to actually like tense up our body even more in that area. And that's kind of like what you're doing. This little practice is like, notice what happens when you get intention. And
I say
so,
that, yes, intention is intention.
Yeah, exactly. And so then actually it shows our body what the extremes are. Like when you're in more tension, it's like this. And then when you're relaxed, it's more like this. And it's training us, teaching us how to work from one side to the other.
Exactly. And to know yourself, like to know your own nervous system, your own tendencies, and what might you accept about yourself and kind of let it be that way, or what it is that you are trying to kind of transcend or break free of, kind of depending on if it is serving you anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the Carl Jung quote. He's definitely one of the people that I read a lot about and look up to in the field. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites. Yeah. He's great. Yeah. Is there other areas we haven't explored yet?
I know. I think we covered most of it, unless you have any other particular questions.
Yeah, I feel like we've covered a lot in a short span of time.
Yes, I know, right? It's like kind of packed and powerful, but sometimes that like less is more.
Yeah. Actually, that's one thing I've been working on is going from complexity to simplicity. What's the heart of the message, and can you get in a simplistic way that people can understand and appreciate? So, yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and really enjoyed it. And it was great to have a little practice and demonstration. Don't do that so much on the podcast, so it's really cool to get something new.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I feel like, a lot of also what I am passionate about is experiential type of modalities that we change through experience. And so you can hear all of the language and information that I'm speaking, but until you're actually like in it yourself, will you really get a feel of like, oh, maybe I am more curious about doing more integrative whether therapeutic yoga or body-based work with therapy in some way. And so,
Yeah,
I'm glad.
absolutely. Actually, yeah, when I got a therapist in undergrad, the first thing he taught me was meditation, and it was very like body focused, and it was huge for my anxiety. And so, became aware right then how important
Right.
the body was to it. And so, yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on. I love your energy, your enthusiasm, your fearlessness to forge your own path and
Thank
find
you.
a bridge between all these different areas. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad that I came across you, reached out, and this was able to work, and I was happy to be here and share.